Okay. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining today for the Freedom to Ride webinar. I'm really excited. We have some great information to go through. On the call today, we have a couple speakers from a couple of the stores that are part of the group. First, I'm going to just walk through the agenda really quickly. We'll go through the introductions, and then I'm going to walk through some of our stats from 2023 and go through some of the best practices that we have, some very standard basic best practices, because we'll get into some additional ones during the panel discussion. And then we'll open it to the panel discussion where I have some leading questions. But throughout the presentation, if you have any questions at all, please throw them in the chat and we'll address them as best as we can. And then again, we'll go through Q&A after that. So I am Lacey Winn. I am manager of the Bike Cooperative. I've been working at the Bike Co-op for about 15 years now, and I run the operational programs as well as assist with the membership. Additionally, we have Rachel Mullins, who's the owner of Gear Bicycle Sales. They have 3 locations, kind of spread out, right? You have 2 in Pennsylvania and 1 in Florida, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Awesome. Okay. And then we have Dave, who's the sales manager of Pro Bike Run. They have 6 locations in the Pennsylvania area. And there are some of just a couple of our top performers from Freedom to Ride who were gracious enough to come on the call today. So walking through some of the stats, it's interesting. This program has done extremely well this year. We have heard from many retailers that their sales are either flat or down for the most part for 2023, but financing sales have consistently been up. And year over year, it's 4%, but sometimes on a monthly basis, we can see anywhere from 10 to 15% up year over year. Through September, the total sales are over 23 million. The average first ticket, which means the first swipe of the card right after the customer has applied in their first purchase, is about $3,100. The average repeat purchase, meaning they come back and they're going to purchase more, is about $1,300, which is awesome. It's typically a lot higher than your standard in-store purchase. The total credit line, which is the open to buy for all Freedom to Ride cardholders for only through September of 2023, is over $449 million, which is just incredible. That means that there's just so much more opportunity out there for those customers to come in and use their credit lines with your stores. And then the average credit line associated or assigned to the customers, as we've seen throughout the year, has been about $5,400, which is really exciting. So the stats have only gone up year over year. I think that everybody's doing a really terrific job this year promoting the program, and it's definitely becoming a bigger piece of the overall sales pie from what we've seen through the statistics. And running through some of the best practices, as I'm talking to retailers, there's a few things that just seem like absolute necessities. So the first one is the in-store POP. So you can order free POP through Synchrony's Business Center, and they offer a whole plethora of stuff for you. They can do hang tags, window clings, counter mats, big posters, anything that you can put in the store to really send a clear message of what's available to the customer. Not only does it remind them that you offer financing, consumer financing, but it also reminds your staff as well to present it throughout the sale. Additionally, one of the most important pieces is the QR code application process. That was new a few years ago. So basically, as you enroll your store, you are assigned an MID, a merchant ID number. And then from there, you get a unique link, and you can get all of this through their marketing repository, through Synchrony's marketing repository. And then with that QR code, you can post that all over your store so that the customer's journey, as they walk in, they can apply using their cell phones by scanning this QR code. It makes it significantly easier. A lot of the fields based on the customer's phone are pre-populated. Takes them a very short period of time to apply, and then they're able to be approved or declined right away. And then if they're approved, the retailer can then go through the business center and process the sale that day. So this has been an extremely important piece of the ever-evolving program that we offer. And one of the nice things is that it alleviates the pressure for the staff to have to ask questions, personal questions of those customers. It makes it a lot easier for training your staff as well. And it gives the customer a little bit of flexibility to apply whenever they want. Additionally, having a website presence is extremely important. You need to have a landing page that explains all of the facets of financing and how simple it is for the customer and the benefits to it. One of the things that we did this past year was we worked with formerly Smart Detailing, now Workscan, to create a customized landing page, and that has been extremely popular. We've had a lot of retailers take advantage. We cover the cost at the Bike Cooperative for you to add that website to your Workscan site. And then one of the really great pieces to it is that we are able to include the unique link for that application so that the customer can actually just click right on it that day and apply before even being in your store, which is a really great benefit. And if you do not have a website through Workscan, we can work with you to create one for whatever e-commerce site that you have. Another best practice is just offering to every customer. We can't assume anything of anyone anymore, whether or not you think they need financing. You want to make sure that it's brought up early and brought up often as a payment option. And I know that our panelists will speak to this as well. But know that finance tickets are much higher and they allow the customer to upgrade their bike and accessories and all of that, because if they're looking for a bike that's around $3,000 and then they're approved for what the average level is, then they're able to add a lot more to the sale that day. And then lastly, it's just training your staff. The business center has a lot of options for you as far as training goes. You want to be trained on the business center, but you also want to be trained in the sales process. You want to make sure that your staff is really comfortable talking about financing, talking about the benefits of financing, and making sure that it's part of the sales process and really part of the culture of your store. We also have a few examples here of how some of our stores have promoted financing in the past. You can see Gear Bicycle Sales here created their own, obviously, outdoor POP that looks awesome. And they have the QR code on there as well for scanning for the applications. The middle image is from Bicycle World in Texas, and they have just the standard Synchrony POP on that bike, but it's very present, very visible for the customer to see and for the customer to know that they can purchase that bike and get 12 months interest-free financing. The last image is from Global Bikes, and they have these really cool hang tags that they created, as you can see, that have the QR code. And then they also have little plastic cards that I think that they allow the employees to carry them around. So it's something similar they have in their back pocket. They can just give that QR code right there to the customer. So it's extremely easy to use and integrate into the sales process. So those were just a couple best practices. And as I said, as we get into the panel discussion, we're going to go over quite a few other best practices that our panelists have, some that are really important and things that I can't necessarily speak to. So I would love to open the panel discussion. And the first question that I bring up, because this is a standard question, something that I've been posed. It's not even a question as much as a challenge that I've been posed many, many times throughout my years at the Bike Cooperative that I would love for each of you to take a minute to answer. And this isn't one I didn't necessarily prep you guys with, but what would you tell a retailer that says no one is asking for financing around here? I don't really think that we need to offer it.
I guess I'll jump in. You know, it's probably a retailer that would say no one needs financing, no one's asking it. I would ask them, well, are you presenting it as an option? Because you know, there's a lot of people who don't necessarily need financing, but at the same time, it can be a great options. And I tell my customers kind of the same thing. You know, I did it for one of my bikes. You know, I said, you know, do I have this in my bank account? Absolutely. But do I want it to all disappear at one foul swoop? No, I'm gonna spread the peanut butter out over a year. It's free money. I'm riding the bike of my dreams, and I'm not even sweating about it. So it was just, it's all about the presentation. They might not be asking about it because they don't know it's available.
Right. Rachel?
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think for a lot of customers, maybe they have the money to purchase what they're looking for, but it's all about, just like Dave said, it's how you explain it. And it's just kind of giving them the opportunity to say, hey, you can buy this bike today and not worry about paying for it right now. Get home, get situated, give yourself a month or two, and then you can pay it off whenever you want. And so I use that as people kind of making an impulse decision to buy a bike, that if you can get them to apply, then that impulse decision becomes even stronger because now the money's there, and they don't have to go home and analyze that they're paying for it today. They can just walk out the door with the bike and figure it out over the course of the year.
Right. Oh, I think that's great points. And what we've learned also is just in general, the idea of financing has become a lot more commonplace the last few years. You're seeing it really everywhere for every single purchase of really any dollar level. It's some sort of financing offer is thrown at you. So I think what's nice for the customer is that they see that this is financing, and it's very, they can see the benefits right away, that it's 0%, 12 months. They pay, they pay as they go, and it's a great benefit as opposed to only having 30 days with a credit card, having to pay it off. Rachel, can you share a success story or a memorable time of where Freedom to Ride played a significant role in a customer's purchasing decision, or one of your employees, if they have a great story?
Yeah. Honestly, every story's like, it's great. And it's just a matter of, it's when we sell a lot of e-bikes, and so they're high purchase, they're high ticket items. So, a lot of people come in and they're already on the fence. They've done some research, they know what they cost roughly, and they're looking, they know they're going to be making this $5,000 to $7,000 purchase, and they can just barely stomach the idea of spending that money. And then when they come in, and for me, it's just a matter of mentioning it like right off the bat. If anybody's buying a high ticket item, it just seamlessly goes into the conversation from the moment they talk about it. When they look at the bike and we discuss the price, you just instantly say, we have financing options available, 12 months, same as cash. You get 12 months to pay it off with no interest. It gives you time to get your money moved around and be ready to pay for it whenever you're ready. And I just kind of like seamlessly add that in, and you can just kind of see the light bulb go off in people's eyes. Like when you're like, oh, okay, well, I can do that, like I can figure this out like over time. So for me, it's just a matter of my favorite moments are when you can see that the light bulb goes off, that the financing makes it a reality for them, where before it was like, I don't know if I can afford this. And then once they have that in their pocket, it goes from, they were 80% there to now they're 100% there. So
Right.
There's lots of stories like that where they all kind of follow the same pattern.
Well, as sort of piggybacking off of that, what are some best practices that you guys use at Gear Bicycle Sales that you've sort of incorporated into your training, or that you've developed over time in stores, as far as the sales process or even POP or anything that you might have?
Yeah. So just like I mentioned, it's basically mentioning it right off the get-go. I don't actually put like pricing exactly on every single bike because I want my customer to come talk to me about the bike. And so we might have pricing on there, or it might have a sign that says, ask or something like that. And so we're a small enough store that it's, we're able to talk to each person. And so I'm able to walk up and say, hi, like they ask about the price, we can go over the pricing, and we can instantly mention it at that moment and say, hey, when we do have financing, it's easy to apply. And we do use the QR code. My sign was there. We do use that QR code a lot, but I don't rely solely on that because there's a lot of people that are just not comfortable filling that stuff out on their own. And
Sure.
so I kind of read the customer. If it's somebody like maybe someone older or someone that's not as like inept on their phone, I can say, hey, well, here, I'll get the application going for you. And if I spend the 5 minutes filling it out for them, it takes that out of it. And then we can just continue on our conversation of, okay, now you're approved for $5,000. Like, let's, and it just moves the process along. So the QR code is great for some customers, but I don't think you can solely rely on it, because there are some people that just, they're not as comfortable on their phone. They're not going to fumble around and do it. They would just kind of be like, oh, okay, I'll do that later, and not actually come back to it. So I would say talking about financing right off the get-go when price is discussed, and having that QR code available but not relying solely on it would be my 2 tips for it.
Okay. I do know, well, in general, Synchrony pretty much has 3 ways to apply. So you can do it through the business center directly. You can hop into the business center and take that customer's email and what their projected credit limit, what they're looking for, and you can enter that in, and then it'll send them an email with the application. And that does expire. I think it's maybe 24 or 36 hours. It expires after that amount of time. So that's another option, or it's through the QR code or through the unique link. So Dave, we were just talking about some of the best practices that we have as far as training or in-store POP, or even involving in the sales process. Rachel was mentioning that they don't necessarily rely completely on the QR code for the application. And then for the sales process, it's mention early and mention often.
Yeah, so we have the QR code and the information on every hang tag that we have on the bike as part of our sales process, and we do the the projected average monthly payment on the back. And we also put the QR code on the back of all of our business cards. So we actually do, because we've found that the QR code is actually a lot easier when the customer just takes a quick picture of it with their cell phone. In fact, actually, the customer who I just stepped away with, he bought a specialized Vada this weekend, and I told him what I was doing here. He goes, "Oh, I did the financing." You go, "I took your card, I took a picture of it. I had what I was approved for in 5 minutes." It was a very, very easy process. So I find that we at our store, we do use the QR codes a little bit more, but more as a kind of a follow-up to that mention early, because if again they're hemming and hawing a little bit on price, or man, I love everything on this bike, but the next model up is beautiful. I'm like, again, we have the financing, and that may be the best way to get into the bike of your dreams. Check out this little QR code on the back of my business card. Just take a quick picture of it, and usually they will, and they're like, "Awesome, I'm approved. Let's get that bike wrapped up."
So Dave, as the sales manager, are you doing the majority of the training for your employees for financing?
I am, and I've found that the majority of them are doing it a lot more that we have the QR codes, because when we had the fill it out on the computer, or the old school write it down on the piece of paper and then input it, it was very intimidating, especially for part-timers or people that don't have that much comfort level speaking to finances. So we found that with having those codes, it makes it easier for our associates to bring it up and have that conversation. And then for the most part, once the customer has that code, the picture on their phone, pretty much the ball's in their court. And then it's just a couple of follow-up, maybe smaller follow-up questions.
Okay, awesome. So when you guys do marketing for Freedom to Ride, do you do anything other than in-store POP? Are you offering, are you mentioning it in emails? Are you throwing it, other than website presence, do you do any social media marketing with it?
You know what, we haven't yet, but our social media is something that we've actually is kind of an evolving process for me. We've actually just started putting a lot more time into it. So I do anticipate that, especially as we're coming up to holiday, that we probably will have a couple tags with the Freedom to Ride, and try to work something creative again to let more people know, other than just in store, that it is an option.
And Rachel, for you?
Yeah, we use it on social media. It'll just be a matter of, connecting that link in on a story or something. I always connect that link so people can click right on, takes it right to that application, homepage. And I use it often there. I do use it in the POP in the store. I do have it on the back of a business card too, just like Dave said. So we just, you kind of just include it everywhere you can.
Sure. I would like to mention one other item with as far as follow-up purchases or repeat purchases with the card. I've seen several retailers over the years they try to get those customers back in to use their credit line, right? On your behalf, we pay Synchrony to send out emails to the card holders throughout the year. So it'll tell that card holder, hey, you have, $3,500 left on your credit. Here's the nearest store that you can go spend it at. One item that I always suggest to retailers is to offer some sort of deal to current cardholders so that they can come in and continue to use their card. And one way that we've done it in the past is just through your blast email. If you have a monthly blast email, a newsletter of some sort or something like that, where it's maybe 5% off an accessory or something like that. Use your Freedom to Ride card and you can obtain this special discount. So what that does is it gives a little bit more exposure to the program. Also for the non-card holders, they're able to say, well, why don't I have this card? And then they might apply from there. So when you say mention early, mention often, and you obviously use the QR code and there's lots of ways to apply. How has Freedom to Ride given you guys a competitive advantage in the market? And not only for local competitors, but for maybe the big box stores that are around you?
So I can actually jump in here because I actually have a lot of experience on the big box side, because before Pro Bike and Run, I used to work for Dick's Sporting Goods at their corporate headquarters here based in Pittsburgh, and as well as kind of on their retail front. I think the Dick's also offers a Synchrony program, but I think where we thrive as a smaller company is in our hiring and having a more knowledgeable staff that's able to portray that message. On the Dick's Sporting Goods side, that's obviously one of the local businesses and big business, but also local here in Pittsburgh. The people who's selling the bikes there, again, is a part-time kid that doesn't really have that knowledge level to speak to the financing. It was usually in the hands of like the upper management or more on kind of the lodge side of people buying firearms there. But I find here having a smaller community of employees that are trained at a higher level is our competitive advantage, both in the quality of level of expertise we give to our customers on the product side, but again, being able to speak to those benefits down the road to help our customers make the best financial decisions as well, to help them with their purchase.
Mm-hmm. And Rachel?
Yeah, for me, I would say the best advantage for us as a bike store was really joining with the Bike Cooperative and getting the lower rates. I had been working with Synchrony before I had joined the Bike Cooperative, and my rates were just not nearly as great. So there was a lot of incentive for us once we switched that we were able to save a good chunk of money on every sale by the lower percentages. And so from a retailer perspective, there was always an advantage to get people into financing, because on a lot of levels, I would be spending less on this than I would on a credit card transaction. So it's gave us a competitive advantage of being able to save money on the back end by offering both something that the customer can benefit from and that's something that we can benefit from as well.
Right. Well, I would love to open it up to Q&A. We have a couple people on, and I was just sent one question. Let me look at it here. Do you ever tend to use longer term financing, or is it mostly 12 month?
I use mostly 12 months. Like I said, when I was with Synchrony before, we offered only 6 month. And when people are buying like an e-bike in the higher price range, or like a more of a luxury, a high-end bike, that still makes the payments pretty high over 6 months. And so once I moved to this, the 12 months was a big improvement, but there is occasionally a question of, oh, well, can I do more than 12 months? Can I do 24 months? We usually work with that on a case by case basis. I usually do charge a fee for that. And, kind of balance that out to say, hey, we can offer you this, but it costs a little bit more. And here's how we calculate that in and give that customer that option that they're looking for. But as a general rule of thumb, the 12 months seems to appease 90% of the people in my scenario or my experience.
We're same thing here. We really stick with the 12-month financing. It's a simple, easy number for people to kind of wrap their heads around. I want to say maybe once a year we run I think maybe in June we run a sale where it's 18 months for a short period of time, but the majority of the year we stick with the 12 months.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining today. We don't seem to have any more questions come in, but if you're on the call, please let us know if you do have additional questions, and you can send an email to me. So I got a little frog in my throat. You can email hello at the Bike Cooperative as well. And if you need anything in the future, just let us know. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good one.